All right, guys, this is going to be Harper O'Connor with How Leftists Can Win 2025. So we're going to watch it long. I'm going to see if I agree and give my ideals along with whatever he's going to say.
Let's be honest. The left is in a bit of a slump.
Yes.
Far right is in ascendance.
Childless cat ladies.
The climate crisis continues unabated, and the Democrats are as useless as ever.
If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
But despite all that, I still think we have the chance not just to compete, but to win right now. So today, I wanted to offer my thoughts on where we should concentrate our efforts in 2025 and beyond. Let's get into it. We have to begin our analysis by acknowledging one thing. We are trying to build socialism under totally unique historical conditions. By the way, if that word scares you, this probably isn't the channel for you. Nowhere has a developed capitalist country, much less the most militarily and economically powerful empire on the planet, been successfully guided towards socialism. Not through elections, not through revolution. Our allies in the third world can fight wars of attrition, knowing that their occupiers will have to withdraw eventually. We do not have that luxury. At the same time, it would be equally short-sighted to think that we could legislate socialism into existence. Our electoral system of first-past-the-post voting and single-member districts incentivizes the electorate to vote strategically for candidates that they think are...
I disagree with that a bit. I think that if we all register to vote, if not all of us, but if a lot of us run, if we say fill the Green Party, the DSA party, and we get everybody down ballot and try to get that 40-50% of people who don't vote to get engaged, I think we can get it through the vote or the ballot, but I digress.
Likeliest to win, which inevitably leads to a political system dominated by two major parties. Under this system, it is almost impossible for a socialist to get elected. If we run as Democrats, we're at the mercy of their corporate-sponsored leadership. If we run independent, we barely win a handful of state and local elections. And when we do gain national prominence, the two-party system forces us to collaborate with Democrats to obstruct Republicans. Inevitably, this detaches representatives from the...
So that's why we need to really fill the Green Party or DSA with a lot of candidates and get a lot of regular people running.
To obstruct Republicans. Inevitably, this detaches representatives from the radical platform they were elected on. Even if the Democrats were to become a workers' party over the long term, which good luck, then the Republicans would still have a very firm hold over the Supreme Court, neutralizing all but the weakest of reforms. So, with both reform and revolution off the table under the current conditions, the American road to socialism must be totally unique. We can learn from history, but there's no roadmap for what we're trying to do. Build power in the heart of global capitalism. With that being said, here's my proposal. Step 1. We have to grow. All of our strategizing is irrelevant if we can't answer this question. And to understand why it's so critical, it might be helpful to consider the fact that DSA, arguably the largest grassroots leftist movement in the country at this point, has about 80,000 on-paper members, making up approximately 0.03% of the electorate.
Is DSA bigger than the Green Party? I gotta look that up.
That is, for political purposes, functionally insignificant. So how can the left go from being small, weak, and divided to being large, strong, and united? I believe the answer is coalition building. The left needs people who can bridge the gaps between the labor, anti-racist, environmentalist, and Palestinian movements, among others. But I'm not the one who came up with the idea of a united front. In an American context, this method was pioneered.
So on here, the Green Party membership encompasses the fourth highest percentage of registered voters in the United States, with a total membership of 234,120. So he said DSA was the biggest left-wing movement. I would think that the Green Party would be considered the left-wing movement. I'm not quite sure in his opinion, I guess.
Pioneered by Fred Hampton. Under his leadership, the Black... But I'm not the one who came up with the idea of a united front. In an American context, this method was pioneered by Fred Hampton. Under his leadership, the Black Panthers formed what became known as the Rainbow Coalition. Hampton realized that these fragmented, individually weak movements could only exercise credible social, economic, and political power if they worked together. So that's step 1. growing by organizing the forces we already have. Once we do that, we can move on to step 2, and our coalition can take on a broad variety of work. In particular, I'm thinking about 3 strategies, each of which I'd like to go more into detail in: elections, messaging, and humanitarianism. The benefit of elections is that they give us a much more official platform on which we can discuss our
Build
ideas.
the ballot,
and
people.
particularly at the local level, they can be successful. That being said, while elections might be strategically,
like you said, at the local level, it can be successful. But I think if we do the coalition building, I think DSA and Green Party should talk to each other, and I'm trying to do that here in Hawaii. So, but yeah, if we fill the ballot all the way up and down, if you have, it says DSA Green / because I think you can have more than one party behind your name when you run for office, but you have somebody in the party all the way up and down the ballot, people will be more likely to bid at the top of the, or vote at the top of the ballot for the Green Party or DSA if they see the whole ballot filled with them.
useful in some cases, they need to be part of a broader strategy, especially considering the resource constraints that we're facing. Here's the harsh reality: party politics can never be a viable option without substantial electoral reform in this country. We need to abolish the Electoral College. We need proportional representation in the legislature. We need ranked choice voting. If we do that, third parties become viable. Of course, the establishment would never do that unless they were facing overwhelming public pressure. Which brings me to my second point: messaging. We need to make electoral reform a hot-button issue. And the best way to do that is to hammer on the brokenness of the two-party system. Think about it. Everyone in your life kind of knows our system is rigged, right? They understand that ordinary citizens are pretty powerless to change the status quo. There is genuine frustration here. And the most effective messaging simply lets people understand the source of the frustration they are already feeling. Believe me, everyone feels the malaise of the current system. We just need to give it a name. Now, naturally, you'll be wondering, what should this messaging look like? In personal experience, and of course I'm biased, I'd say short form video is our best friend. I'm no communications expert, I'm no genius, I don't have a team behind me, but in just a couple short years, I was able to reach quite literally millions of people on TikTok. And I know for a fact that I've been responsible for hundreds, if not thousands of people starting to question the propaganda they've been fed. So why is short form so powerful? Well, I think there's a couple reasons for that. First, anyone with a phone can do it. You don't need lighting. You don't need to know how to edit like I do. Second, these platforms have millions of users and it is really easy to reach them. Because of the way the algorithms work, you can go viral even if you don't have many followers, provided you make a catchy video. Third, it's easier to get across to people on a human level. Some of these videos I've seen from just normal people sharing their experiences with, for example, the healthcare system or talking about climate change are really impactful because it's another person. TikTok feels like you're taking a FaceTime video from your friend. That's pretty powerful. And you don't get that on a more impersonal platform such as Twitter. And that personal sort of connection can start that spark of solidarity, this recognition that, hey, we're all going through the same thing. We're all suffering in the same ways. That's the beginning of class consciousness. Follow other creators whose messaging you admire. Tell your own story. Confidently and clearly explain why the current system cannot be reformed and needs to be replaced. Again, public discontent with the polarized two-party system is our highest point of leverage because basically everybody resents the status quo. If we can focus that discontent, allow people to realize its true source, and then present them with a realistic alternative, that's lightning in a bottle. The goal is to make it so that every time somebody thinks about how broken the political system is, they immediately think of our solution, which is that electoral reform platform I just mentioned. If we can connect up these two things, we're golden. Now for the fun part. This is where a true left-wing coalition differentiates itself from political elites. Democrats.
Okay, so he was talking about making videos, the short form videos. That's cool. Also, maybe like write op-eds, send them to your local newspaper, online places. Also, join the DSA or Green Party. When you do that, you'll start knocking on doors, and talking to people, and maybe trying to hold town halls, seeing about your local, what's that? I forget the local city Congress people and having town halls with them, or just even town halls without them, just local, and just try to meet up with people and see what everybody wants. Back up.
A true left-wing coalition differentiates itself from political elites. Democrats by improving people's lives. I think our priority in the near term needs to be outreach programs such as school lunch drives, tenant and union organizing, infrastructure redevelopment, housing construction, legal defense, establishing community gardens, winter clothing drives, and whatever else our communities need. We need to show the people who are neglected and exploited under the current system
just do it ourselves.
we are willing to fight for them. Again, this is something that the Black Panthers did incredibly well. Of course, this work will most likely start in cities, but over time we can and must reach out to rural communities. A fantastic example of this is the Middle Tennessee chapter of DSA, which recently raised the money to erase over $2.5 million worth of medical debt. Let me repeat myself.
Pretty good.
$2.6 million. Imagine how much respect and loyalty we would gain from the American people if we were to do this on a nationwide scale. Imagine if socialists were the most active members of our communities. That would go so far in countering the decades of Red Scare propaganda
This is true.
Americans have been
Get more active, guys.
Plus, working together is how we actually build those coalitions I was talking about. The ruling class wants us divided and siloed, but when we work together, we build real solidarity. A strategy that focuses just on elections could never do this. We need less talking and more doing. Okay, so here's the strategy up to this point. We build a coalition from the broad spectrum of left-wing groups operating in this country already. Second, we go to work serving our communities and building trust with the American people. And that brings me to step 3, the end game. Over time, I foresee these coalitions becoming quite powerful and autonomous if we are successful. I foresee a world where membership means your legal fees are paid if needed. You have help covering rent if needed. You have help organizing your workplace if needed. I foresee organizations that are robust enough to feed the hungry, to house the homeless, to care for the sick. I foresee great festivals and gatherings full of music and art, full of freedom that prefigures the society that we are working to create. Then, once we're strong enough, we can apply pressure for electoral reforms through protests, strikes, encampments, and most importantly, the discipline to withhold votes from politicians who won't work with us. So there's the actual 3-step framework.
There you go, but in the very end, again, fill the ballot. If we have enough, if we're doing all that and we have, it's going to be millions and millions of people, right? If we have 20% of the people of the United States doing all the other things, if we're running on the ballot, then people can choose us.
Rally our allies, win over the American people, and then use that mass movement to put pressure on the state. I don't want to give you false hope, but despite strong headwinds, I seriously believe that we have a massive opportunity for movement building right now. The genocide in Gaza and the brutal crackdown on people protesting that genocide at home has woken up a lot of people to the harsh reality of our system. The climate crisis is only just beginning. The cost of living continues to rise. Establishment politics are as ineffective as they've ever been. The public is primed to look for an alternative. We need to rally our allies. We need to go where the fight is. This is how we win. So if you're not in an organization, get organized. If you're not
DSA, Green Party.
Educated. I'll leave a resource in the description for anybody who's looking to get busy on that. Ultimately, we are blazing a new trail that has never been trod before. But still, for the sake of humanity,
Trailblazers.
we have to push forward. This video was adapted from the article, The American Road to Socialism by Samuel Withers. I'll leave a link to that below. A better world is possible.
I agree. I dig it. Yeah, so, organize, join groups, coalition build. I agree with all that. I've been saying that. I said it to my Green Party peoples. I have a meeting for the DSA. We're going to try to bring everybody together, just like you were saying. And I've even talked about we need to just start doing stuff, volunteering and getting stuff going on, which they already do, but we need to do it on a higher scale, on a larger level. Like he said, get the community involved, get people seeing us, right? And then start them joining the Green Party, the DSA, and joining in the community movements and whatnot. And lastly, running, filling the ballot. That might even be first. Like, I think that might even be the easiest thing to do. We just start coalition building. I guess that's number one. But as we do that, get the people in, as we start volunteering, just whenever the next election is, just fill the ballot with whoever we got, as many people as we got. And, to get this done, we're going to have to work across the spectrum.